One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on to wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report and pace his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful Monday morning. Let's get it this morning. Absolutely. So as you guys can see, we have the title for the show, Iran War Update. We have a lot of that for you guys, as well as there's going to be a White House press briefing today. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to capture that on this show today, but at least you guys know it's there. We're going to be discussing a little bit about the government shutdown continues as the House has declined basically the Senate bill that was proposed for, or the funding for DHS. The House shot it down. And then, of course, and more top stories. So let me go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a chronological breakdown of what we're going to be discussing. Some things are actually going to be discussed from Saturday, even Friday night, leading up to now. So because there's been a lot that's gone on since then, and it is very pertinent information that I'm showing you guys. So we're looking at Iran-backed Houthis enter the war, launching strikes at Israel. Now that makes it a three-front war at this point. You've got Hezbollah up in the north that is raining some missiles down to northern Israel. Then you also have Iran that's attacking them as well. And then, of course, now the Houthis. And there's a little bit more complexity to it than just ballistic missiles. This comes down to now we're gonna go ahead and choke out everybody on a financial level. So the Houthis are going to shut down, or have shut down, their strait down there by them. So this is going to be very interesting going forward. And also, like I told you guys about the House rejected the Senate DHS funding bill, pushes new plans. So there's a new plan that they're going to try to push through, but they declined the one from the Senate. Anyways, we have 15 U.S. troops injured in Iran attack, 5 in serious condition. Now, this happened on the 28th, so theoretically that is, Saturday? And that whole ordeal is a mess. I'm not really sure why we do the things that we do. That was at a Saudi base, right? So, What I get pissed off about is there's so many things that we can do to prevent such damage to not only our people, but to our equipment. And what ended up happening in that Saudi base for the U.S. Side, we had a whole bunch of planes on the tarmac. I mean, literally just sitting out there as open targets. What are we doing? Why aren't they like in somewhat, maybe a hangar, some sort of, you can hide them underneath something. Meanwhile, they just have them wide open on the tarmac. And then you wonder why. Oh, they blew up our shit, Like, man, what are we doing? That shit pisses me off. Anyways, so unfortunately, we had 15 people that died from that and a lot of equipment that was destroyed. And then regional leaders gather for talks on ending the Iran war, and that was yesterday. Top diplomats from Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt are meeting in Pakistan, and they did that yesterday to push for the end of the war. Very, very interesting. Now, we also have some other things going on. Regional tensions surge after Iran-aligned Houthis attack Israel. Yes, we are learning more after German, I can't even say his name, criticized President Donald Trump for approach to ongoing conflict between the United States and Iran. What Trump is doing right now is not de-escalation and an attempt to reach a peaceful solution, but a massive escalation with an uncertain outcome. That's what the Meirez guy had said on Friday. Very interesting. And then we have actually Trump's approval rating, and it shows that it's dipped amid this Iran war, as well as when gas prices have surged, of course. And then we have 4 hours ago, President Trump speaks to reporters on Air Force One amid Iran conflict. And as you guys know, I don't really like doing a lot of the Air Force One reports because I hate bad audio. And it's crazy how many good microphones and cameras that are inside Air Force One, and then yet they don't utilize the shit correctly. So it's you just hear like the background noise, the cabin noise, and it's just ridiculous. Anyways, we're going to attempt though. And then we also have Iran calls the U.S. 15-point plan. Again, it's not a plan. It was a framework, and they call it quote unquote excessive. Well, no shit. Definitely saw that coming. And then as an hour ago, DHS shut down, now in the longest it's ever been in U.S. history for DHS in particular. All right, guys, that's what we're looking at this morning. I very much appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us and getting down with your bad selves. Real quick, let's go ahead and do our call to actions, and we'll get right into it. Make sure you guys hit that like button and double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. I very much appreciate you guys, as well as hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and of course, Saturday morning for members only, man. We have a great time. Please consider, though, becoming a member. Speaking of members, starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be, on these airwaves, as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Very much appreciate that. And then let's go ahead and do a little side note. Follow my Instagram right here at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, man. Make sure you guys follow up over there. We also have a Discord server for all of you legends to continue the conversation after we're done with the show. Go into the video description down below. We've got a majority of you guys, a large majority, I'd say 95% of you guys in there, but we got to get a full 100%. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen, and you guys can donate to those at any time, and I get 100% of the proceeds, and I'll, of course, read out loud anything that's coming our way, and I can shout it out just like a normal super chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some gifted memberships. Virginia Chaos is gifting out 2 this morning. I very much appreciate that, my man. Thank you for making it rain in the chat. We got Mr. Al Patterson that also gifted out 5. Holy shit. Thank you guys for not only helping me, but you guys helping out the rest of the Insane Wheels family. I very much appreciate your guys' selflessness. We got Sterling Wheel coming in and dropping another 5 gifted, by the way. Wow. Wow. Extremely blessed, you guys. Thank you for that, and thank you for the support. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people here that are going to take advantage of those memberships and hang out with us on members only, man. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and pretty much get right into the craziness that we've got a lot going on. And by the way, I know that you guys are going to be like, hey, what's going on with YouTube? YouTube is glitching out like a motherfucker this morning, and it was for people last night as well. Even as to the point where YouTube Studio is not even working correctly. And I looked it up. I'm like, am I the only person with this problem? They're like, nope, everyone's having this problem right now. So YouTube is on some lame-ass time. So it is what it is. We just deal with it. All right, so we got Mr. Al Patterson in the building. We got Warliner as well as Jimmy Mack. Appreciate you guys. We got Dylan Patterson. Shout out to my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat. We got Gary as well as Naomi. Good morning to you guys, as well as Rabbit of Chaos. Thank you for being here this morning. Steve Easy, my man, and Lappy, Rabbit of Chaos is awesome. Thank you for being here, by the way. We got Sick Bastard. And thank you for the raid, by the way. Very much. I very much appreciate you, kind sir. I know it was a lot to set up this morning. I watched you struggle, but it was a great time. We got Mount High as well as Cameron. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. And I like what Steve Easy says here, America first, America only. That's a fact. We got Tiffany as well. Good morning to you. We got Big Dan. Thank you for being here, you guys. We got Two Wheel Jesus as well. Shout out. We got Steve Posey as well as Beezer. Shit. Great to see you all, man. Thank you very, very much. We're rolling our way down, trying to catch up to everybody. Try to say hi to everybody. We got Pablo. Good morning to you, Pablo, my man. And let's see, we got Beezer coming in with the 20-month membership, by the way. As a 20-month member, I just want to say I like turtles. Yes, I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you for the 20 months, my man. That goes a long way. We got Sterling Wheel sending him $18, my man. Yes, the number one number in the world. IWF Saturday members only was extreme. It was extreme, and guess what? We sat there, and that was probably one of my most enjoyable members only we've done in a long time. Now, I always enjoy all of them, but there's certain ones that are just like that next level, and they're funny, and that we had a great time on that one. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. But Sterling, thank you again for the $18, man. Making it rain in the chat this morning. Thank you guys. All right, let's go ahead and pull this up and get right into the craziness. We've got a lot to discuss. Iran-backed Houthis enter the war, launching strikes at Israel. And now, if you guys remember before any of this happened, last week and the week before, whatever, I was telling you guys my honest concerns. I was telling you my concerns of we got to keep an eye out for the Houthis down there in Yemen because they have not entered the war yet, which is super surprising because they are considered the axis of resistance, gets quote-unquote funded from Iran. So why weren't they getting themselves involved? Well, Iran was keeping them in their back pocket, just like I suspected, by the way. I totally suspected that, called it out, and even showed you guys on the map and said this is what could happen. And sure as shit, that's exactly what fucking happened. So anyways, let's go and get into it.
Good morning. Welcome in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christy Matino, and we are starting off with some breaking news this morning as we continue to follow the latest in the Middle East. Iranian-backed Houthi rebels claimed a missile launch towards Israel early this morning, their first since the war.
What's up, Garrett? Shout out to you. Good morning to you. And Virginia Chaos did come in and saying you did call that. I very much appreciate you, kind sir. Great to see you in the chat as well. We got Brother Dean over there from Israel. Shout out to my man, and great to see you as well. And yes, the Houthis have joined 3 tracks on the last 2 days. Interesting. We got Christopher Collins as well as AU, America Uncensored. Shout out to you guys. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Started. The Israeli military said it intercepted the projectile. Israel struck Iran's nuclear facilities hours after threatening to, quote, escalate and expand its campaign against Tehran on Friday. Iran vowed to retaliate and struck a base in Saudi Arabia, wounding several U.S. service members and damaging planes. Here's that post here from...
That's so funny. Cameron's like, I've never used Cash App, Venmo, or whatever else there is. I get you, bro. You don't have to, you know what I mean? But joining up from a... you're for members and stuff like that. I think you just have to provide a card number. You don't have to use Venmo or Cash App or any of that.
Fox News. Now, a military spokesman for the Houthis claimed responsibility in a statement aired this morning on the rebel satellite television. He said the Houthis fired a barrage of ballistic missiles targeting what he described as sensitive Israeli military sites in southern Israel. Before today's attack, there appeared to be a breakthrough as Tehran agreed to allow humanitarian aid and agricultural shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. But today's assault calls into question whether the Houthis will again target commercial shipping traveling through the Red Sea corridor, as they did during the Israel-Hamas war, upending shipping in the Red Sea, through which about $1 trillion worth of goods passed each year before the war. The rebels also fired drones at Israel. A lot to discuss here, so bringing in a friend of the show, Ali Reza Jafarzadeh. He's the deputy director of the Washington office of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning to you. Always a great pleasure to be on the show. Very happy to be with you.
All right, well, I want to start with this. How significant is this reported missile launch by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels towards Israel?
Okay, real quick, before he gets into it, I got to show you guys something, okay? Now, they're going to specifically talk about as well as Saudi Arabia getting hit, right? And so let me go ahead and show you guys something. You guys see this? Oops, I kind of shared the wrong one. Hold on, give me a sec. That is the picture I need you guys to see, but that's not the exact link. Here it is. Okay, so let me see if I can somehow... Oh, man, it won't let me size in. Okay, this is the before shot. Do you guys see that at all? I know it's very, very small, but that's our fucking planes on the tarmac, okay? Why are we having them just sit out there as sitting fucking ducks? I mean, we should know this by now. We've been there, done that how many times? And yet we leave our shit on the tarmac just sitting there instead of them being, you know, hidden somewhere or whatever. It's very easy to get satellite imagery or any type of, not just satellite, but like getting any type of drone, any of that type of intelligence. It's very simple for them to figure out, hey, they've got 20 planes out there right now. Let's go ahead and just bomb the shit out of them. You know, they're not moving targets. So it's very easy to hit. That's a sitting duck. And then here's what we see. Yeah, our shit getting blown up. That shit, I mean, it really fucking pisses me off. Like, all those things, they're very, very preventable in that kind of stuff. So, and unfortunately, it says 12 people lost their lives, but actually 15 lost their lives on this whole thing. So back to this.
Why would they get involved at this moment in time?
Now, she is specifically bringing it over to the Houthis. Now, the Houthis did not do that attack on Saudi Arabia. Iran did that specifically. But now they're going and pivoting about the Houthis.
Well, first of all, I think this missile launch today just highlights...
Yes, they are huge planes, but you can absolutely hide them underneath something. You can put them in, let's say, this is a U.S. air base, okay? So this is, we have the locate, you know, let's just say all the hangars are full or whatever. Why not get some sort of overhead coverings somewhere off, a little bit off the distance and hide those planes? But meanwhile, we just let them sit there. Like, yeah, this is the target. Just hit this right here, everybody.
How much resources, money, and attention the Iranian regime has put on expanding its terror network, its proxies, over the past 47 years. This is the DNA. This is the way the Iranian regime operates. They allocated a good portion of the Iranian people's wealth in expanding and creating this network. 47 years of funneling money and training.
You know, I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at this objectively, even with our Gulf allies. I'm looking at it totally objectively. And unfortunately, I think after this whole thing goes down, I think, you know, after this whole war operation, whatever you guys want to call it, I don't know how much the Gulf states are going to be wanting to necessarily support us being there anymore. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. I just don't see how that they're going to be like, oh yeah, we want you guys to be here. I mean, it's very easy for someone like China or something like that to be like, hey, you know what? Move the United States out. We'll come in. We'll protect you. And we'll make sure this shit doesn't happen, you know, and then they can't gang up with Israel and do, you know. So there may be some shape-shifting for sure. And real quick, we got Brother Bill Castle in the chat. Good morning to you. Great to see you in here, by the way. All right, back to this.
And that explains why oil-rich country of Iran has its population suffering. Over 80% of the Iranian population live below the poverty line. Now you know, you can see where the money has gone. But at the same time, keep in mind that especially over the past 2-3 years, the Iran regime has been significantly weakened, both in the region, but also inside Iran. Much of the power of their proxies, whether it was Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Shiite militias in Iraq, their biggest ally in Syria, Assad, is gone, and of course the Houthis have been weakened. That doesn't mean that their ability is zero. And they are going to use this ability in a obviously not comparable to the past. Tehran wants to have this perception that, you know, despite all the things happening in Iran, especially the uprisings in Iran, this regime still is standing, and they have the ability to fight back, hoping that these kind of actions on the part...
Hey, Super Big Exotic, I very much appreciate that, by the way. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning. I definitely know that we are. By the way, everybody, make sure if you guys are just coming in, I know there's a lot of craziness happening around the world. But you guys don't have to like the video for that, but you guys can like it for me and what we do here. So double tap that screen. If you're on the vertical side, hit that like button. If you're on the horizontal, I very much appreciate your laborious work on hitting that like button.
Of the Iran regime would put a cover over their weaknesses, especially internal weaknesses. They certainly have spent a lot of money on their missiles, not just their own missiles, but the missiles that they have given to their proxies.
I got you, Bill Castle.
Why are you gay?
Remember, Maduro had benefited from the Iranian regime's missiles in Venezuela, the same way the Houthis in Yemen.
I wanted to share this post here from the IDF. We've been hearing a lot from them over the past several hours here. Israel says it intercepted the projectile, but what does this tell us about Israel's current defensive capabilities and preparedness at this moment?
Well, I think, certainly, I think the level of aggression that the Iranian regime has shown in trying to fire missiles in different directions, even firing missiles against their Arab nations, some of them, close allies.
Yeah, literally close allies. And listen, hey, those Gulf allies, I promise, do not like when fucking missiles are entering into their country. Yes, it's hitting, U.S. bases and theoretically on the ideology that is U.S. soil, right? But it's still going into their airspace and still hitting their shit. And I promise you, those countries do not like that shit.
Of the Iran regime in the Persian Gulf and in the neighborhood, what the regime wants to show is that they want to threaten their...
Yeah, so when you guys hit that like button, it definitely... So it shows YouTube's algorithm that we're doing something correct. That's literally what it does. And so when it does that, usually they'll end up kind of pushing the live stream out a little bit more, Cameron. So to answer you in full transparency.
All the countries in the region, so they would put pressure and find a way of ending the war, which in a way it's a good thing to end the war, certainly, as far as the Iranian people are concerned. But I'm just looking at them.
Oh, those things. Yes, every bit of engagement, even those little like hearts or something like that. I don't see that on this end, for instance, when you guys do that. But at the end, on the analytics, I can see you guys using the different like 100%, the love, the like, all of it. It shows all of those, and it shows when you guys used them, and so it lets me know it's great for engagement. That's really what it is.
From the Iranian regime's angle, and they want to show that whatever capabilities exist in the region, the regime still has the capability to fire missiles here and there.
Now, Ali Reza, I also want to touch on this because we do know as well Israel has now struck Iran's nuclear facilities. Is this a major escalation? Where does all of this stand here this morning?
Okay, I'm going to answer this for this dude. Anytime that anybody is attacking any type of infrastructure, energy infrastructure, anything to do with oil, electricity, any of those things, that's where, or water, sanitation, any of that stuff, that's when you bring war to that very, very next level. And there is a 2-level system when it comes to doing war. And when you start attacking an entire country's, whether it be sanitation, energy, oil, any of that, I mean, you're not just going after the government now. You're going after their people, which is, theoretically illegal. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the next story here. The House GOP over the weekend, as you guys know, rejected the Senate DHS funding bill. Man, did not see that in the cards. I thought this was easily going to pass, actually.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christy Matino, bringing you a live look at several of our airport cameras here as we continue to follow the DHS shutdown. And the latest here is the House of Representatives passed a stopgap measure that would temporarily fund the Department of Homeland Security late last night. But
isn't that crazy, Bill Castle, where I started and what I was doing? Basically at first on here on YouTube, and then where we've transitioned to today. It's been amazing. Now, truth be told, I do like, biker news, but it's too niche. once in a while, having a story once in a while in this is great, but trying to do it every day, that's a little too boxed in, you know?
The 43-day shutdown could drag on for several more weeks, unfortunately. The 2-month funding extension approved by the House is likely dead on arrival in the Senate, where any funding bill needs to overcome a 60-vote threshold, meaning buy-in from a handful of Democrats. That hurdle has not stopped House GOP leadership
What's up, Crystal Kitten? Great to see you in the chat.
from arguing that their rejection of a Senate-passed deal and pitching a subsequent rival DHS funding proposal is the way out of the shutdown. As you're taking a live look there at Capitol Hill this morning, I do have a quote here from House Speaker Mike Johnson as he spoke to reporters leaving the Capitol last night. He says,
What's up, brother TVT? Great to see you in the chat as well. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning.
"We're not going to split apart two of the most important agencies in the government and leave them hanging like that. We just couldn't do it." But the full court press launched by House Republicans aimed at persuading the Senate to return to Washington to take up their bill is likely to fall on deaf ears in the upper chamber. A GOP aide spoke to Fox News Digital that, quote, "The easiest way to end this shutdown is for the House to pass the Senate-passed bill." Senators left Washington for a 2-week Easter recess after unanimously approving a DHS funding measure in the early morning hours on Friday, with some traveling abroad on congressional delegations. House lawmakers are also scheduled to be in recess for the next 2 weeks. I also wanted to share this.
So it's interesting that they declined the whole funding bill, and now they're proposing another one. House GOP pushes through new DHS funding plan. Well, when that happens, it's got to go back to the Senate for them to vote and sign off on. And once they sign off, then it goes to the president. So this could be, proposed from the GOP, from the House GOP, but the Senate could just say no. And we may just extend this whole thing back and forth from the House back to the Senate back to the House. It's just going to be miserable.
News here with you that we also learned yesterday, as we do know that President Trump moved to shield TSA agents from further financial distress by taking executive action directing DHS to pay those employees with existing funds. The roughly 50,000 agents have missed 2 full paychecks during the ongoing funding lapse, leading hundreds to quit their jobs and forcing others to grapple with mounting financial distress.
So, Bill Castle, on the next cycle, I'm going to be actually running for the House of Representatives. So, JR is going to be going into Senate, and I'm going to be trying to get into the House. So that's the plan.
President's move is likely to alleviate lengthy wait times at TSA security checkpoints, though senior officials have warned of long-term impacts due to more than 500 agents quitting during the funding lapse. However, other DHS personnel, such as those employed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the U.S. Coast Guard, and certain support staff working for ICE and CBP, will still have their paychecks withheld until the department's funding is restored. But Democratic lawmakers are blaming Republicans.
I'm not sure what the actual number is, Dean, but the truth is like when we were in Iraq, and when we were in Afghanistan, those went way longer than 60 days, right? And all of those were quote-unquote operations. None of it was congressionally approved. I think the last time that we congressionally approved a war was World War II or something like that, and everything else since has been operations. Yeah.
Republicans for the impasse after Johnson's decision to reject the Senate deal. A quote from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries as he spoke on the House floor, saying, "We're here dealing with a partisan spending bill that the Senate has already indicated is dead on arrival. And so Republicans have taken the decision to own this shutdown decisively. There is no doubt. The short-term DHS funding patch passed by the House is a clean extension of government funding and has no partisan policy riders." President Trump also came out against the bill Friday afternoon in an interview with Fox News. Now, this bill notably does not include any of the reforms that Democrats have demanded for 6 weeks to rein in immigration enforcement, including tightening warrant requirements and prohibiting agents from wearing masks. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who warned throughout the funding stalemate that nobody wins in a shutdown, has indicated.
No, nobody wins. It's actually, everybody loses. That's what happens. And guess who gets still paid? These lawmakers that shut this shit down. Like all the other federal employees that are a part of each one of these, sections, they don't get paid. But the lawmakers that shut it down still do get paid. That shit is bullshit.
Bruh.
Bullshit. Lame. All right, we're moving on. All right, we're going to talk about the 15 U.S. troops that were injured in this latest Iran attack. 5 are in serious condition, and this happened at a Saudi Arabia base. As you guys know, I already explained my anger at the United States for leaving a fuck ton of these planes just sitting out in the tarmac, just sitting ducks at middle of a war zone. But we just got all of our shit out, just billions of dollars of planes just sitting on the tarmac. And hey, you guys could see it from a drone and everything. Oh, yep. Go ahead and just launch that missile. Terrible. Anyways, we're gonna talk about the actual troops themselves that did get injured.
Here on your screen, this is a live look over Lebanon, specifically Beirut, as we know that Israel is continuing to conduct its strikes there.
Yeah, and the United States is not involved in anything going on with Beirut. So, not yet, at least. But so they're talking about what Israel's doing over there.
Again, this is going on here and will likely continue throughout the day. Now, the Associated Press reporting via sources that a total of more than 15 troops have been injured as a result of an Iranian attack that took place on Saudi Arabia's Prince
What's up, SST? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
Air Base. This was an attack that happened on Friday. It wounded, as I mentioned, about 15 U.S. service members. And the Associated Press also reporting via sources that more than 24 U.S. troops have been wounded in those attacks on that same air base over just the last week. If you're not too familiar with where the base is located, it's about 60 miles from the Saudi capital and is run by the Royal Saudi Air Force, but is also used by U.S. troops. Iran reportedly attacked the base twice earlier in the week as well, including once where 14 American troops were injured. Despite
What's up, Frank? Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
that, President Trump telling a crowd
Morning.
on Friday in Miami that Iran is losing and wants to make a deal.
We're crushing Iran's currently as we speak. I just looked. We had another big day.
No, I did not see that, Steve. That's pretty funny, though, because I did see that they were allowing these lawmakers, politicians, whatever, fly and not have to get checked through TSA. They just let them walk through, essentially. And interesting that is happening now, Steve.
We hit them. They don't know what's happening. Remember this. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with Israel. We are not negotiating. They're being hit so hard, anybody would be negotiating.
Yo, real quick. We got my man, Virginia Chaos, in the building. Sending in a Cash App, by the way, saying, pay Mike, not the lawmakers. Here's some freaking money. Yo, what? Yo, that is awesome, man. Thank you very much for that, Virginia Chaos. Let's go ahead and do the money part.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now, that is a major W. I very much appreciate that. Thank you for making it rain in the Cash App, my man.
Negotiating. They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal. Turned out I was right. They were negotiating, which they admitted 2 days later. And in order to make up for their misstatement, they said, we're going to send you 8 ships of oil. And the following day I saw, this is 2 days ago, I saw in one.
It went from 8 to 10. And then they said something about like allowing 20 ships to pass through the strait or something.
Of the networks. Very strange. There are 8 ships of oil coming out of Iran. And then they actually said, we're going to add an extra 2. And they added an extra 2, so we had 10 ships. And then people realized we were actually negotiating. And we're negotiating now. And it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh my God, this fucking guy.
Bruh.
bad timing to be saying any of that. It ain't no Strait of Trump. You can't even pass through that bitch right now. So come on, man.
And it now appears that the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen have entered this conflict, firing a missile for the first time. This is a post right here on your screen from earlier today, coming in from the Israel Defense Forces. It says, quote, earlier today, the IDF identified the launch of a missile from Yemen toward Israel. Aerial defense systems intercepted that threat, end quote, again, coming in from the IDF on social media just hours ago. Mark Chandler is the Director of Government Relations and Professor of Practice at Coastal Carolina University. He's also a former senior defense intelligence official, joining us now live to talk about all of this. Mark, thank you so much.
I'm seeing if we have new imagery. Yes, we do. We don't need to hear this guy speak, okay? Honestly, it's kind of, you know, we know the deal. We're just going to go ahead and move on here and get to this new images that we haven't seen yet.
In the U.S., of course.
Yeah, so this is a new CENTCOM video of Iran strikes.
As they say, they are showing this video here and are posting it. And essentially what it does show is that Iranian naval vessels are being hit there by the U.S. forces that are in the region. They, of course, have been posting a lot of video here over the past several weeks since all of this unfolded. But again, you can see the flames there, the smoke, all of that as these different vessels are being hit. When you look at this, can you kind of explain for folks out there some of the context and really what we're looking at from an intelligence standpoint?
Well, what we're looking at is the result of the intelligence that has been gathered and developed on, what are the most immediate threats? What are we trying to do? So we know that, a couple of your videos there showed some.
That last one, oh, damn, that one too. Holy shit. These are nice boats, though. I gotta admit, these motherfuckers are ready to rock and roll. It looks like it's not even in the water.
What are we trying to do? So we know that, a couple of your videos there showed some
that
mobile missile
the
launchers out there that they're trying to take out. We've got to get those down. They can have 100 missiles. If they have no way to launch them, we can eliminate that. As for these vessels, we have to regain control of the Strait of Hormuz. We have to open that up economically. That absolutely everyone kind of understand. But you've heard the
brother so loud. Shout out to my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you.
Administration talk and CENTCOM talk about the number of vessels and how we've, taken down the Iranian Navy. But there's the IRGC.
Yes, sir. Anytime that you guys hear any of those sounds that are just coming out of nowhere, that's always my soundboard. I have a lot of them. I have a lot of different sound effects. That's for damn sure.
Navy that's separate from that and has hundreds of smaller boats. We call them fast boats. They're armed. They're armed with missiles. They can be drone launch platforms. They can seed what we call put mines in the water, throughout the entire Persian Gulf and in the Strait of Hormuz. So we have to eliminate all these small vessels. And that's a lot of targets, Josh. It's into the hundreds that are scattered up and down the Persian Gulf. Yes, there's a big concentration down.
Yes, sponsored by Naomi. She did buy it. I got to give a shout out to her for sure.
Near the strait in a place called Bandar Abbas and on Keshem.
Stop the cap.
But if you find any of these small port areas, if you work all your way up.
Be safe out there, Brother Beezer. And we're going to move on from this guy. We don't need to hear him ramble on. All right, so the next thing that we've got here is regional leaders. They gathered yesterday, by the way, on Sunday. Top diplomats from Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt were meeting in Pakistan Sunday to push for an end to the Iran war. Now, let's go and get a little bit of context of what this was. This happened on Sunday. Now, this video, though, this reporting happened before they met up. So I think this reporting came from Saturday. We have some things that we're talking about in chronological order that started Saturday that are affecting today. So I have to show certain things to make, everything make sense.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Stephanie Quinu, and we appreciate you joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We start this Sunday morning with the very latest developments out of the Middle East as you're taking a live look here from Beirut, Lebanon. This comes as the United States has dispatched thousands of additional Marines and paratroopers to the region. And the Iran-backed Houthis, who govern parts of Yemen, have announced their long-awaited entry into the war, launching missiles towards what they called sensitive Israeli military sites for the first time on Saturday. I also wanted to share this post from the U.S. Central Command stating that U.S. sailors and Marines aboard the USS Tripoli arrived in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility March 27th. The America-class amphibious assault ship serves as the flagship for the Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, composed of about 3,500 sailors and Marines, in addition to transport and strike fighter aircraft, as well as amphibious assault and tactical assets. Another live look right here from Beirut.
Okay, I don't care about that. I want to get the let's see here. U.S. dispatches thousands of troops to the Middle East. Yes, we know that. I want to get to what this whole meeting is about. That's really what I care about. And maybe they discussed it in this whole thing, but I'm not going to listen to 16 minutes of that shit. So at least you guys know that happened yesterday. Once I get a update on that whole thing of the meeting of yesterday, I'm sure maybe it's going to be coming out sometime today or something like that. And I'll show you guys what that discussion was about once I find it. Anyways, regional tensions surge after Iran-aligned Houthis attack Israel. Not only are they attacking Israel, but they're also shutting down their strait, which is, actually 12% of literally all goods go through that strait, the one that's over there by Yemen, down there by the Houthis. So there's a lot of interesting things happening here. It's not just oil. There's just, global trade in general. So this is going to mess up a lot of things even further.
Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack, continuing to discuss the ongoing conflict in Iran as the Pentagon is preparing for a potential weeks of ground operations in Iran. And such a mission expose U.S. personnel to an array of threats. And again, this from the Washington Post, talking about a mixture potentially of special operations forces, conventional infantry troops, as any potential ground.
Yeah, it's somewhat holding up, Pablo, somewhat. It's doing somewhat of a good job for sure, but they're sneaking through. That's for damn sure.
Operation would fall short of a full-scale invasion and could instead involve raids of different portions of military groups. But as we talked about some threats and widening of this war, let's be joined right now by senior research analyst with the FDD, friend of the program, Joe Truzman. Joe, thank you so much. And this could be a major development. We're more than a month into this conflict. What type of threats could the U.S. and their assets, boots on the ground, have in that region?
Oh, we already know the answer to that. We discussed that nonstop here. We don't need to hear this guy's opinion on that. Everyone knows my opinion on all of these things here. So if that's just an opinion piece, I don't give a shit. We're moving on. We don't cater to content. We don't cater to that shit. We don't cater to one side or the other or any of that stuff. We cater to fucking facts. So anyways, let's go ahead and get some facts. Trump's approval rating dips amid Iran war and while gas prices also surge. Let's go ahead and bring that up and see what the actual stat is.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. A live look at the White House on this Sunday, and we have new reporting from Fox News, a new poll from Fox showing that President Trump's approval rating is taking a hit. This Fox News poll shows President Trump's approval rating dipped to 41% in March, and that 59% of registered voters now disapprove of him. That is the highest disapproval of...
Dang, I thought the 59 when I saw that earlier, I just read it too quick. I thought 59 approved of his performance, but actually now it's down to 59 disapprove. Very interesting, and 41 approve. Wow.
Either of his terms, and Republican approval fell to a second-term low of 84%. That's down from 92% last March. Among Democrats, 95% disapprove, marking the fourth time this term that Democratic disapproval of Trump reaches a record high. Among independents, 25% approve and 75% disapprove. That was posted by Fox News earlier this week, showing the breakdown of those approval and disapproval numbers, hitting high numbers for President Trump. And we have Fox's Max Gordon with the latest on this.
No Kings rallies drew massive crowds on the east and west
Yeah, and this shit is so gay.
coasts this weekend.
I don't like foreign wars.
Yeah, no one. I don't think anybody does.
I don't like excessive government spending.
Similar scenes in Europe, with Americans abroad also taking a stand. Protesters expressing anger over the war in Iran and President Trump's policies.
He made 3 campaign promises: no more wars, lower prices, and release the Epstein files.
That's true.
He has done the complete opposite of all 3 of those things.
What's up,
And
extra
it's not
surprise?
just the president's critics angry over the war. The latest Fox News poll finds some 64% of registered voters disapprove of how President Trump is handling Iran. That's up from 57% in January. Adding fuel to the discontent, the war's impact here at home, where rising prices at the pump and grocery stores remain top of mind. According to the Fox News poll, some 86% of voters are extremely or very concerned about inflation and high prices.
Of course, inflation, high prices, gas, medical.
Ongoing funding issues at the Department of Homeland Security also not helping with the mood, as hundreds of unpaid TSA employees quit or called out at airports across the country. This has led to hours-long waits for travelers and sparked concerns over...
They do successfully show that they are full-blown retarded, Jimmy Mack. That's what is being proven, I guess.
Safety.
We need to fully fund not just TSA, but all of Homeland Security, because we have real threats in America.
All this now creating some of the worst approval ratings on record for the president. His overall job rating stands at 41% approve and 59% disapprove. This is a marked shift from a year ago when some 51% of registered voters disapproved. And the DHS funding lapse set a record this weekend, becoming the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Max Gordon, Fox News.
And another look at those approval numbers. According to the latest Fox News poll, 59% of registered voters saying they disapprove of President Trump's performance, 41% saying they approve, and that is a significant change from this time last year, about 8% difference there. That was the latest reporting from Fox News on those new approvals.
Yeah, that's interesting that, I mean, those were Fox's numbers on Trump, and that's pretty brutal. All right, so we're going to move on into a little bit of, I mean, this could be hit or miss, everybody. I haven't listened to any of these yet, so listen. We've got President Trump speaks to reporters on Air Force One amid Iran conflict. Now, if you guys aren't new here, you guys know that my biggest thing is audio. I hate terrible audio, and usually in Air Force One, the plane, the cabin noise is so fucking loud that I can't stand listening to it. So we'll give it a good attempt and see if they got a good microphone. They've got 1 billion microphones on that freaking plane, and yet they never can seem to hone in and get good audio. Anyways, rant over.
Mr. President. So we've had very good negotiations today with Iran. Getting a lot of the things that
If this is how it's going to be, I'm not listening to it. Let's fast forward and see if they get it.
we've had regime change.
No, I'm not doing this.
You look already because the one regime was decimated, destroyed. They're all dead. The next regime is mostly dead. And the third regime, we're dealing with different people than anybody's dealt with before. It's a whole different group of people.
Yes, it's all a different group of people. We know that. Let's fast forward a little bit.
Another one.
Okay, so what he's showing here is the ballroom. But let me go ahead and explain what is interesting about this. Underneath the ballroom, there has been some military, I guess, expansion underneath the ballroom of the White House, whatever. Underneath, they're making they're ahead of schedule, he says, that all the construction is ahead of schedule. But underground, it's like, I don't know if it's like where they store different type of munitions. I'm not really 100% sure on that. Real quick, we got Kevin coming in with the $5 saying, steady, if you don't fuck with politics, that won't stop politics from fucking with you. That's true. Thank you very much for the $5, my man. Very much appreciate that. And welcome in. It's actually the first time I've seen you chat, and the very first time you chat, you send money. So I very much appreciate that. That goes a long way, man. Thank you.
The ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing. The glass, on the windows, you see the big windows, the glass is extremely thick. It's high-grade bulletproof glass, so all of the windows are bulletproof. I think the Times wrote to you, some of the windows are fake. We have no fake windows. They talked about a stairway in the south. We don't have a stairway.
Oh shit! Be safe out there, Dean. That's fucking miserable. He's literally got to go into the bunker. Crazy.
That was replaced a long time ago. but this is a view of it from the north, and that's, if you see it, it fits in with the White House. It's almost a twin to the White House. It's something we just wanted to pay tribute to the White House, and so that fits in beautifully. Let me just see another one.
So it's like an underground facility that they have made for, safe against missiles, safe against drones, bulletproof glass, all that kind of stuff. Cool. But why are you doing that? They can't even reach us. So who's the threat coming from? I don't know. Whatever. Maybe they're just getting ahead of schedule. I really don't know. Anyways, I'm done listening to that because Air Force One, as you guys heard, I'm a total complainer when it comes to terrible audio. We're moving on. Iran calls U.S. 15-point plan, quote, excessive. Now, mind you, I keep reiterating that was never a plan. It was a framework. There's two different. Nomenclature is important when we use these things. It was never a plan. It was basically a framework, a suggestion.
Bringing us back out to the live image that we have over in Beirut, Lebanon. A lot to discuss on this Monday in regards to all of these developments that we're following closely. So to do that, I'd like to bring into the program now Jonathan Schanzer. He is the executive director at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning.
Be safe, Naomi.
I want to start with the latest update that we had from the Associated Press. So they said this, that Iran's foreign minister today said that a 15-point ceasefire proposal put forward by the U.S. was filled with, quote, excessive.
Yeah, Steve Posey, I don't think it was actually meant to originally come out. I think that it got leaked. And then because of that, Trump got ahead of it and just said, well, I'm going to have to announce it. I believe that's what happened. But fact check me. I don't know that to be 100% fact yet, but that's just what I've heard. And then we got Todd J, by the way. Great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning. Great to see you, bro.
Demands. Jonathan, what do we know
Let's
about...
get the likes up, everybody. I very much appreciate it. Double tap the screen if you're on the vertical side. Thank you, guys.
This proposed ceasefire that has been brought forth by the U.S. There's a lot of questions as to where these negotiations even stand today.
Sure. Well, these 15-point, the 15-point plan, the 15 points put forward by Donald Trump, essentially are asking the Islamic Republic of Iran to cease acting like the Islamic Republic of Iran. I mean, we're talking about their nuke program. We're talking about their missiles. We're talking about the proxies, the aggression toward all the neighboring countries in the Persian Gulf, and not to mention the.
Well, yes, it is aggression unintentionally at those Gulf countries, the Gulf states down there, but they're really attacking the United States.
Human rights abuses carried out by the regime. Donald Trump is asking for all of these things to be curbed and for the regime essentially to capitulate, to give up, understanding that it has been beaten on the battlefield. I mean, I think we can say that even though there is an economic war that is still raging in the Strait of Hormuz, and yes, there are still missiles and rockets and drones that are flying around the region, the advantage is undeniably with the United States and Israel.
What's up, yo mama's house? Shit, great to see you in the chat, bro. Good
morning. They continue to take out significant assets across the Islamic Republic, across the regime in Iran. There is no way to stop that as far as the Iranians are concerned because they don't have missile defense. They don't have air defense. They're unable to stop what is going on right now as the U.S. and Israel continue to just pound away. Now, I will say that there has been a trailing off a little bit of some of the attacks. The Israelis have actually stopped launching those 400 or so strikes per day. It's down to somewhere around 150 or 200. And the U.S. has sent one of its aircraft carriers for repairs. So what you have is a little bit less of an intense assault right now on the Islamic Republic. And that may be giving the Iranian regime a sense that they are strong.
Liquored up with Poncho. Shout out to my man. Good morning.
Or that they can withstand some of this. But I must say, I think it's temporary on their part. I think it's optimistic. I think they're making a mistake that the longer they drag this out, the more likely it is that the regime will collapse under its own weight. I'm not sure they can sustain.
No, and yes, we're going to win and ultimately with firepower, sure. But how long is it? I mean, it's going to be ultimately a lose-lose. That's what is going to happen. And the U.S. taxpayer is the one that really actually loses on this shit. But yes, anyways, we don't need to hear him ramble on any further. DHS shutdown now longest in U.S. history. This just came out 2 hours ago. It says tens of thousands of TSA employees have been working without pay since DHS funding lapsed on Valentine's Day. So the department's shutdown has now reached 45 days on Monday, which is today, eclipsing the record, the last record, which was 43 days. And right now we're at 45. Last fall, that had affected all of the federal government. Political analyst and historian Rich Rubino is going to be joining in on this. All right, so let's go ahead and see what is being discussed a little bit. I mean, that's the headlines, and that is the fact of what's happening. There's not much more to talk about other than what I already told you guys, actually, because we're actually running behind. But I already told you guys this, is that the Senate basically passed a new funding bill for DHS, and it went down to the House, and the House actually voted no on that. So now the House actually put together a new proposal for the funding of DHS and is now going to be sent back up to the Senate. But I guarantee you, as soon as it gets right back up to the Senate's going to be like, nope, nope, we're not taking that. And it's just going to be bounced back and forth. And that's not what we need. Not a good plan.
The top of the next hour. It is 7:55 in the morning here on the East Coast, 4:55 on the West Coast. My name is Carla Lara, and let's continue with some more of these top stories, keeping it domestic here in the U.S. We're going to be talking about the partial government shutdown, which is continuing throughout this week. Taking us out to this live image that we have of the Capitol building over in Washington, D.C. So the Associated Press saying this: President Trump on Friday signed an order to pay TSA employees starting as soon as today after a deal that sought to do the same stalled in Congress. Before President Trump signed that order, we saw House Speaker Mike Johnson rejecting a Senate-passed bill to fund TSA and most of Homeland Security. Now, House Republicans were angry that the Senate's measure did not fund Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Border Patrol, which Democrats refused to fund without changes to immigration enforcement practices. Senators have already left town since passing their bill in the early morning, so it would take time for them to return if the House did end up passing a different measure. But of course, a lot of this still up in the air on this Monday. Joining us now to talk about all of this, how it's unfolded, what comes next, is Rich Rubino. He is a political analyst and historian. Rich, good morning.
Good morning.
Rich, all right, so another moment in history here. This is now the longest partial government shutdown in U.S. history. Let's talk about that a little bit here. But first, also setting the scene, Congress members are in a 2-week recess right now. Where did we leave off over the weekend?
How can they always have some sort of fucking recess in the middle of them actually needing to do something? All of a sudden, it's like, oh, let's have a 2-week vacation for everybody. No, let everyone go back to your homes. Let's just get back to it in a couple weeks.
The Senate seemed to agree to some of this funding, but it fell apart in the House. What happened?
Yeah, this is very interesting. The Senate basically passed on a voice vote, meaning that they did not even basically have a vote. It was basically unanimous, at least the senators that were in the chamber at the time, for their own provision, which basically partially funded the government during this time period. At least those agencies that were currently under controversy. And the House, Mike Johnson basically said this is dead on arrival. He called it detestable. So it's really
these motherfuckers are supposed to work for us. You know what I mean?
Internecine fight, not necessarily between Democrats and Republicans, although that certainly is part of it, but really between the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. So Mike Johnson basically said he would not take it up. He wants to fund the entire Department of Homeland Security, including immigration and the immigration agency. So that's really where we are right now. And the Senate, John Thune, has basically said that he will not bring his members of the Senate back home during this time period. So obviously this is very bad optics on the part of the United States Senate, and for that matter, the House of Representatives as well.
A couple of things that I want to address within that last answer, but I want to go off that last point because another question that I had, Rich, as I have been
we're all getting tired of this shit.
Mentioning Congress right now, they are on that 2-week recess. So does that mean that no work is going to be happening possibly behind the scenes when it comes to funding Homeland Security, even though Congress is in this recess?
There certainly can be a lot of, technically when they're on recess, it's really a working recess. They're supposed to go back to their states and their districts. They're supposed to do district and state work. So theoretically, and I think this is a probability, a substantial probability, there's going to be a lot of phone calls between Mike Johnson and John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, going back with Donald Trump, probably talking a little bit with the Democratic high command as well. It'd be very hard to see a scenario where they go back to their states, they go back to their districts, and they do not deal with this. I think there's going to really be an uprising, I think, on the part of many of their constituents who are going through the TSA lines right now, who are going to say you really need to deal with this. So yes, I think they're definitely going to be dealing with this, because this is a work recess. It's not necessarily a recess the way you think of a recess, where people go out and go on the and essentially just take the time off.
And that brings me to my next point when we talk about some of these constituents, because a lot of these members of Congress are going to be facing them. They're going back to their districts during this 2-week period. What are Republican lawmakers saying about the wishes that their constituents have in funding the Department of Homeland Security, in how immigration operations run. What is the American public saying, pretty much?
This is very interesting because Republicans, at least traditionally, are seen as a party of less government. The Democrats were seen as a party of a more all-encompassing government. Republicans were seen as those who wanted government to be a limited purpose entity, if you will. Right now, you're seeing the opposite. You're seeing Democrats basically saying that there should be more restrictions on, for example, ICE agents, that ICE agents should have to obtain judicial warrants, that they should have to wear masks, that they should be more open. And Republicans are basically making the case that the government needs to fund the agency of ICE. So this is really part of how Trump has really kind of changed the ideology of both parties. But I think that there are certainly factions or ideological factions in both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. For example, Andy Harris, who chairs arguably the most conservative caucus in the House of Representatives, the Freedom Caucus believes that the Save America Act should be essentially part and parcel of this legislation, or at least another piece of legislation that comes with funding the Department of Homeland Security.
Right, because they're going to try to pass something in a funding bill. I mean, this is what the bill is. It's a funding bill for DHS. So that's what they're trying to get the Save America Act somehow passed through, somehow, some way.
Security. So you have these very interesting kind of alliances in both parties right now. But I think that for the part of the leadership, I think that the Republican leadership, at least looking for the 2026 midterm elections, probably wants to get something done and get this off the radar, because generally speaking, the Democrats, going back to the days of Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, and then Barack Obama and John Boehner, and then more recently Donald Trump and the Democratic leadership, the Democrats from a purely optical standpoint have seemed to have benefited from government shutdowns.
I want to take us out to a social media post from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. He says this: Republicans created chaos at airports across America. They can end it tomorrow. Bring the House back, pass the bipartisan bill, pay TSA. The American people deserve better. Let's talk about this process.
Yep, here's from Hakeem Jeffries. Timu Obama.
Just a little bit here, Ridge. So Representative Jeffries saying to call the House back. Would that be House Speaker Mike Johnson's call to make? And what would need to happen for, Congress members to return there to D.C. to try to get this funding passed and to end this partial government shutdown? Is that something that could even possibly happen?
Theoretically, yes. Mike Johnson has plenary authority. He can say that we're going to call the House back into session. Whether that's really going to happen, I don't know. But just from an optical standpoint, Democrats can really go after the Republican leadership, saying, we're waiting. Why aren't we in session right now? Why aren't we in session? Why aren't we dealing?
What's up, brother Hardwire? Great to see you in the chat, my man. Good morning to you.
With this, why are we dealing with this? Basically, it's an emergency. So I think that he could do that. Whether he will do that remains to be seen.
And then going off of that, have there been times in the past where we have seen possibly a House Speaker call Congress back to Washington, D.C., even though they were supposed to be in a recess?
You have seen scenarios where presidents have done that. For example, President Harry Truman did this he actually spoke during the Democratic National Convention in 1948. He was actually losing at the time to New York Governor Thomas E. Dewey, and he called a special session of Congress to deal with certain pieces of legislation, basically partisan pieces of legislation that were very popular at the time. So sometimes presidents have the authority to do that. Sometimes at the state level, governors can do that. For example, in the state of Texas, the governor.
I like how Rich went in depth on this one. I do like that. Sometimes he a little much, but he did well on this one.
Can declare can basically in order the legislature there only meets 90 days a year every 2 years, but the governor can declare 30 years for emergency sessions or special sessions and deal with it that way. Whether this is really going to happen with Mike Johnson doing this, I think from an optical standpoint, again, that probably would be in his favor to at least show that both sides, that his side at least is working to try to come up with a resolution to get to the president's desk.
Speaking of
very, 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 very interesting. So it's look, I just see this being a problem where the House is going to think a certain way. They're going to propose something. It's going to go up to the Senate after they just already passed something to get this kind of behind them. I thought the House was going to pass it, but Mike Johnson and the House decided, nope, we're not doing that. All right, well, now you got to propose something that's better. And now it has to go right back to the Senate, and the Senate has a different ideology, and they're going to be like, nope, we don't want that. So then they're going to decline it again and do another proposal. It's just kicking the can down the road. Meanwhile, what's happening here is we have a lot of people that are working for free, which is fucking insane, missing paychecks. Dude, there's many, I'm talking like 98% of people. You miss one paycheck alone, just one. Dude, shit falls apart fucking quick. And it's not, listen, man. I think this is it's a house of cards. It's a house of cards, man. And I'm just, I feel bad for Americans all the way around. You know what I mean? We deserve better than this bullshit. And these lawmakers are making it fucking hell. I think we need to vote all of them out and refresh. You know, that's the way that I look at these kind of things. Anyways, guys, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. Obviously, I say this and it sounds cliche, but I really do mean it in the aspect that I can't do this shit without you guys. You know, I'm very honored to be able to do this Monday through Friday. And then, of course, members only for on Saturday, man. So we have a great time. Listen, we're going to be back tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. This is what we do. So listen, thank you all. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless. And we're not going to be rating anybody today. There's no one that's live right now. So you guys are going to have to find your own way, you know. So anyways, much love. See you guys very soon.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar.